Hello everyone, and welcome back to another speed building video. Make sure you grab yourself a drink, a snack, a blanket, get comfy. Again, extra comfy because I don't know what's up with me, but I have really long videos recently. And let's get into it. So pretty much today I'm building in the world of Oasis Springs, which is just a base game world. It's this more desert-esque kind of world. We have some lots that have a little bit of grass, but as you can see here, I'm literally building on sand. But this is the lot, you can see it up in the top left, I believe it's called Yuma Heights. That's the lot I'm building on, which is actually directly across from the infamous land grab family. So when you see me spin the camera around, you might be able to see the land grab's mansion in the background. But that's the lot I'm building on. But in terms of the actual building I'm doing, I went for this more Art Deco, well, it's definitely an Art Deco exterior. That was definitely what I was going for. And as per usual, I did use a reference picture, so I'll go ahead and put that up on the screen for you guys now. And you can kind of see what I was referencing. I was building this, but the outside is Art Deco, and then the inside I was kind of going for a 70s maximalist kind of aesthetic, I guess. And I genuinely could not be happier with how this build turned out. I think I tried so many new things in this build that I probably would usually never attempt. Like, first off, like this exterior, and then the way I did the interior, and I did a lot of like custom furniture and stuff, which I'm super happy with how that came out. And I just think that this build is just, it's just one of my favorites. Maybe I just really like how many risks, I guess. I mean, I don't know how much you can call them risks, like it's The Sims 4, but I like how many new things I tried out in this build, and I'm happy that the new things actually paid off, because I mean, I feel like a lot of times when I try new things in The Sims, they just look a little bit goofy, but this was not the case, at least in my opinion. You guys can let me know if you feel differently, but I'm personally very happy with how this build came out. And I actually ended up using a lot of things from high school years on the exterior, because high school years is with more of an Art Deco art direction, I guess. So a lot of the like exterior elements we got that could be used to like make a high school and stuff, I believe that's like what a lot of their, or what the Sims team's intention about like the windows and the pillars and things like that. I believe it was to, you know, make the high school, which was more of an Art Deco kind of vibe. And so I felt like they just worked really perfectly for this house that I had in mind, because I mean, given the reference photo, I just feel like it works really well. And I went for this like orange and blue, or orange and like teal kind of exterior color scheme, and then on the inside it's like a lot of orange, a lot of orange and a lot of brown, which honestly, like, I feel like this house is meant for me. Like, the inside of this house is how I would like to decorate my own home, to a degree. I have a couple of different aesthetics that I like, 70s definitely being one of them, but I also like some more like cottagecore kind of elements, so maybe like this and a mix of a couple other things. I don't think the kitchen is my dream kitchen, but I feel like the dining room and the entranceway, like those are honestly some of my favorite places I decorated in this house. So yeah, I just feel like those could definitely be in my dream home. But overall, super happy with this build, and as always, I do have a storyline in mind, which I'll get into in a little bit. I'll just like explain the exterior first, but as a little teaser about what the storyline is, pretty much I'm envisioning 3 Sims living here. One which is a fashion designer, the other which is an interior designer, like for homes and stuff, and the other is the fashion designer's partner. Or if you don't want them to have a partner, you can get rid of them and just play with the 2 of them in this household. But I'll give you more details on that in a little bit. I kind of just want to explain what I'm doing right now, which is building the exterior. So you might notice that I am building on the lot sideways. This is not how you spawn into the lot, but I just needed the lighting to like be nice, I guess. So I just wanted to be able to see what I was doing. So I'm just building it like this for now, and then I'll rotate it so that the house actually faces the street when I'm done assembling the outside of it. I feel like the exterior is very much a step out of my comfort zone. I wouldn't say this is the type of build I tend to gravitate towards, but I felt like after seeing the reference photo, I just thought that it would be a super fun thing to kind of tackle. And you'll see that I'm actually using curved walls, which I haven't used ever in a build. I don't think. I'm trying to like think while I say that, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I've never used curved walls in one of my builds yet. And now that I've done this build, I would say it's for a good reason, because honestly, these walls are so frustrating when it comes to decorating and things like that. And I think when I was building this house, every time I would like re-log in, there would be a bunch of items just missing, which is so frustrating. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna try and redecorate the areas to what they originally looked like before I upload this house. But I did like a lot of clutter in like the dining room table and the entranceway table, and like every time I came in, all those items would be gone, and it was so frustrating, and I've never had that happen. And so my suspicion is that it was the curved walls, and that like maybe I accidentally deleted something and then it triggered like all the other objects to get deleted, because maybe it thought it was like I don't really know how to explain it, but my suspicion is just that it is the curved walls, which is just, it's just great. I mean, they look super cool, but they're so glitchy and frustrating to use. But yeah, I did it anyways, and you know, I'm happy I tried it, but will I use them again? The chances are not high. So don't get your hopes up for that. But I mean, you can't like lie. They do look pretty cool. So but yeah, I did those, and I was really kind of focusing on putting a lot of these like textural elements on the exterior, because again, with the reference photo, like I felt like there was a lot of different layers to it. And of course there's restrictions with The Sims, right? So I couldn't get all of the features that I wanted, so I just tried to like add whatever like structural elements I could in certain places. So like you can see here that I just took these curtain mounts, which we got from the Desert Luxe kit, to make it look like the curtain rod extends like beyond the actual curtain, if that makes sense, just so it looks a bit more cohesive. But I just use these all the time as little like wall elements. So I use that to create like this kind of frame around the curved windows, or as like a windowsill on the front. And I'm pretty happy with how that came out. And then on top of that, I did like, I don't think spandrel's the right word, the wall trim, I guess, and also some platform height. So I kind of used like a mix of those elements to, you know, push, or I guess just reflect what the reference photo had, even if it's not exactly what the reference photo is. It just kind of like mimics the same sort of vibe. In terms of what items I used from what packs, once again, this is not a pack restricted build. I went a little bit crazy, as I tend to do, but I'm glad I did, because I tried some new things and I'm happy with how they came out. But the windows, a lot of them, like these long skinny ones, are from, and like also this like slatted door and the slatted window, those are from Island Living. And then I used the high school years windows along with some base game ones. And wallpapers, I used primarily base game, maybe with a hint of high school years. Truthfully, I can't remember which wallpapers I end up settling on, because it took me forever to try and decide which ones I wanted to use. And yeah, I think maybe even after I decided I was done the exterior, I'm putting air quotes around that, because I can be done, but I'm never actually done. So I might have like came in while I was doing the interior and decided to like re-wallpaper the outside. Like, I truthfully cannot remember. I spent a lot of hours on this build, so at some point everything just started blending together. But yeah, I think I used primarily base game wallpapers on the outside, and I know this foundation is base game, and I think, oh yeah, that railing that I've used on like the platform bits, that one is from high school years. That's like the railing that came with that. And yeah, I think that kind of covers it for the outside and like the packs and stuff. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and start telling you about the storyline I had in mind. Honestly, it's nothing too crazy. Like, there's not like a lot of drama or anything. It's more just about the specific Sims I envision living here. So I was thinking that there is a really famous fashion designer. Like, she is like, think of what's like a very popular, think of like Vera Wang. If you guys know Vera Wang, like, think of her, and that is this sim. Like, she has like a really successful fashion line, and you know, she's pretty well known, which is why she's like up across from the land grabs house. Like, the house granted looks kind of small, but I was thinking that they'd probably pick like the stylish house over like a massive lifeless mansion. So it's like a little bit smaller. It's not a small house, but it's, you know, maybe not as grand as someone with her kind of money could have, but I think that's okay, and I don't think she really minds at all, because I mean, look at how cool her house looks. Like, why would you even mind? But yeah, I'm thinking she's like a really famous fashion designer, which is, well, in the Sims, it's called fashion influencer, and like it's an actual career you can have, which is why I really want to play with this household, because I just think it would be so much fun. Because I recently saw like a YouTube short saying that when you get to a certain level of the fashion influencer career, like you can actually have your Sims like set trends, and then the like random Sims that you don't play will walk around the world in those outfits that your Sim, like the fashion influencer Sim, had deemed as like a trend or something, which is so cool. And so I really want to play with that kind of storyline and stuff, and I just think that that is so much fun. And of course I'm going to do a create a Sim for this house, because I feel like you guys need to like see her and see a name for her, because also I'm envisioning that like her fashion line is her name, like she's just that well known. So like Vera Wang is like, you know, it's like, oh, you have like a piece from Vera Wang, like, and everyone knows what that means. Well, I say everyone. If you don't know what that means, that's okay. I'm just saying, like, within like my group of people, at least, like we all kind of know about Vera Wang. So I'm just envisioning it's kind of like that. Or maybe on like a grander scale, think of like Louis Vuitton or something, just like a pretty well-known fashion name. That is this Sim. And so I'm totally gonna give her a name that's like an alliteration, so that it's like, oh my gosh, you're wearing a so-and-so piece, and it's just gonna sound like a brand name. It's her name, but it's also a brand, and so that's what I'm gonna go for. And so I'd really like to do a creative Sim for this house, because I think that that would be such a fun thing to kind of like visualize for the Sims. And then once again, like you have a fully playable household, which I think is so fun. And then for the second Sim, I'm thinking it's either like the fashion influencer's sister or like best friend. And I think that they are, once again, an interior designer, which again is another career that we have in the Sims 4. Like your Sims, if you have the Dream Home Decorator pack, like they can, you know, completely renovate like other Sims rooms and houses and things like that, which again, it's just such a fun career to play out in the Sims. Like I'm really happy that granted we've kind of had this since we got the Get to Work expansion pack, but just like more interactable careers for your Sims, because like it's so boring to be like, oh, they're going off to work and now I'm just gonna sit here and wait for 8 hours of in-game time to pass before my Sim comes back and I can play with them. So it's really nice to not send them to a void, but actually have something that's like interactable. So I think that's so fun, and like both of the careers in this household are very interactable and super fun to play out. So I was very happy to go with that. But yeah, I haven't decided if it's going to be like a sister or if it's going to be just like a roommate best friend. I'm leaning a bit towards like best friend kind of vibes. But yeah, that might change when it comes to Create a Sim. I'll have to see. But I think that the interior designer Sim like pretty much designed this whole house, of course, because I mean, look at how cool it looks. So yeah, I was thinking that that is how the house looks so nice, is like she is an interior designer, so she was able to make this super cool looking house. And yeah, I'll explain like a little bit more when we move on to their rooms, but I've kind of done a lot since I've been talking about that. So let me just catch you guys up to speed. So pretty much you will have seen that I cut out a lot of like the landscaping, like all of a sudden went from desert to green. So pretty much all I did was first off, I cut it out because this video is really long and it was very boring to watch. Like honestly, it was so tedious because of like the curved walls and stuff. So pretty much all I did is I took some terrain paint and completely covered like the lot with this green grass. I really wanted it to look artificial, like they had the money to like have grass in a desert, you know? And I did that, and then I put like a fence, a very cool looking fence. I believe it's a base game fence, and I put it all the way around the lot, and then I put some hedges along that. And then what else did I do? Yeah, I put some shrubs and like a couple of different flowers and stuff. And I use these planter boxes, which are just a debug item, which we can find in like the live edit menu, either live edit or debug, but you can find them around the world of Oasis Springs, where it just looks like a patch of grass and like with this stone trim around it. So I use that as kind of like the planters for what like the flowers and stuff sit in. And yeah, that's kind of how I landscape the outside. And then I also put like these stripes of grass in like a different color, or just like a bit of a darker grass to kind of, you know, again, make it look like a well manicured lawn that, you know, they have the funds to keep that up in the middle of a desert. And I didn't show this, but I also put a giant fountain, which we got from the romantic garden stuff pack. Honestly, I feel like maybe it's unnecessary. Like, I don't really think that needs to be there. So truthfully, I might take it out because I don't even know if it matches the vibe of this house. But once I found it, I've never used that fountain before. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to put it down because like the color matches. But I didn't really stop to think about if it's like necessary for this house. So I might get rid of it. But that kind of covers the outside. Oh yeah. And then I just threw out some trees and things like that to kind of make it feel a bit more lively. And this house does end up having like a grand backyard of like, well, actually it's not that grand. Like they don't have too much backyard space. Pretty much they have a pool. They have a pool and a couple of sun loungers, and that's the backyard. I don't end up including that in the recording again because it was like very tedious and kind of just boring to watch. So I cut it out, but it'll be in the screenshots. And yeah, so that covers the exterior, and I have now since then moved on into the interior of this house. So right off the bat, like when you come into the entranceway, like you get a vibe for how this house looks, and that makes me super happy. Usually I find entranceways so boring, but I think just knowing the kind of Sims that I wanted to live here, and like I was able to decorate the house based off of those Sims because I knew early on, where usually I can only kind of decorate their room specifically. But what was so fun about this house is that it's two Sims, both with a lot of like personality and stuff, and it's not like a family home, so I could really display that all throughout the house, which is why I think I love this house so much, because it's not just like a standard suburban home with like the personality like kept into one specific room. So yeah, in the entranceway I used a table, a side table, I'm not sure what you call that, but like the little entranceway table that looks like it's made out of clay, that's from the Desert Luxe kit. And then I used a whole mix of like everyday clutter and high school years and this little candle trio that we got from City Living on top of that to make it like feel pretty cluttered. And I use this trick that I've been using very frequently, where I just take these pots that we got from Jungle Adventure, and I use those to make it look like the plants have a different sort of pot. So I went with like this terracotta color one, which really ties in well with the rest of the house. Because like I said, I use a lot of orange, and I'm not ashamed about it. But if orange is not your color, don't know how you'll feel about this house. But orange is one of my favorite colors, not to wear or anything, but just in terms of decor, like I do really like it. My all-time favorite color is green, and green will never be trumped, but orange is a pretty good second option. And I use this really fun like organic shaped rug that we got from Seasons. I feel like a lot of people don't like this rug, but to me it's like, I love it personally. I think it's a really cool rug. Granted, some of the swatches are a bit bleh, but this orange swatch and like the zebra print one, I feel like those are all really cool swatches that I enjoy using. And then I also tried to use a lot of cool like light fixtures in this house. Instead of just doing like those standard like ceiling pot lights, I might have those to keep it a bit brighter, but I tried to have a bit more of these statement lights around. So the ones I used in the entranceway are from the Desert Luxe kit, and then the one I am using above the dining room table here is from High School Years, which is a really cool like beaded gem one, which I really like. But yeah, I think that kind of sums up the entranceway, but I want to explain what I've done in the dining room here. First off, love the dining room. Such a cool looking dining room in my humble opinion. But what I did is I was looking up a lot of different like photos to kind of get like the vibe of like the 70s interior, and they all had like these kind of, well, not all of them, but the ones that I was really drawn to had these giant like solid wood tables that was like solid on the side, and then the sides were also solid wood, like it wasn't just the legs of the table. And so in order to, you know, make it look like that, I took this table, which is a base game table that we got from when The Sims included some of those like CC creators into the game, like had some of their objects as like purchasable objects in the game, if that makes sense. So I took a table from that, and then I took just like a base game shelf and made sure they were in the same swatch, and then I rotated the shelves using the tool mod, which is linked in the description, and you don't need that to download this build. Like, you can download this build without any sort of mods, but I rotated those shelves and I merged them into the side of it to make it look like this giant piece of wood as the table, if that makes sense. I mean, you will have seen me done it, so if my verbal explanation doesn't cut it, like, you can see what I did with the video and stuff. But yeah, I was super happy with how that came out, because I think it really you know, made it look correct. And I still have yet to test if it's functional, but it should be. And then these chairs, literally never used these chairs in my life, but I could not think I do not think another chair would fit as perfect as these ones. So these are from City Living, and they just look so cool. Granted, they don't look too comfortable, but honestly, with how cool they look, I don't even care. And another thing that I'm really happy that I did in this build is I took this box that we got from the Dream Home Decorator pack. It's just kind of like this linen clothy box, and using the tool mod, I like lowered it into the table to make it look like a placemat or just like a thing to rest your dining room table items on, because I was seeing a lot of those like in the reference photos, and just like in general, like I feel like that's pretty common, but we don't have anything like that. And originally my only ever thought has been to like use a rug, but with the way the rugs work in The Sims, like you can't really elevate them without them looking extremely incorrect. And so when I thought to use like this box and just lowered it into the table, I felt like a genius. Originally I tried with these base game shirts that we have. It's kind of like that item that's like 5 shirts stacked on top of each other. Like, it looks like they just freshly washed their laundry and like folded it and stuff. And so I tried to like flip those 180 so it was the bottom of the shirt, and just use that as the tablecloth. But then that all got deleted actually when I loaded in my game, and then I had the idea to use the Dream Home Decorator box, which I think worked out so much better because I had a lot of different color options instead of like the really dark color that was like the shirts, which you can kind of see off to the left there, because I'm kind of jumping around in the footage, but that was before I had re-entered my game and it disappeared. And yeah, so that was kind of like a little idea I had that I thought worked out really well. And on the floor, I switched it to be like this terracotta tile, and I put like a bar in the curve of the window, which I think is really nice. I feel like this house is great for like entertaining, and I feel like these Sims would have like a pretty big group of friends and probably just entertain a lot because their house is super cool. And yeah, I also threw around like a whole bunch of plants, which I really like. And then something else that's cool is I tried to add these, well, I did add these base game lights that kind of look like a wall molding. If you squint, maybe that was kind of how I was interpreting them. Granted, they might not actually look like that, but I used them in this orange color just to add some more depth to the wall and stuff. And I changed like the lighting color in that room to be a bit more orangey pink, I guess, which I really like. And at nighttime, I just think it's just such a cool area to like host and have people. So I was super happy with how that came out. And as you can see in the dining room, like the stairs, I made them 2 tiles wide, and then I put them in like this L shape, so they ended up taking up like a giant chunk of the floor plan. And with that, like, it made this kind of odd little gap between like the hallway to get into the laundry room, I think it is. Yeah, to get into the laundry room. And so what I ended up doing is I put this little base game rug that's like this tealy green, the circle one. And then I use this really cool chair, which we got from Island Living, which I honestly don't think I've used. Actually, I might have used it in the jungle home I did, but aside from that, I've never really used it, mainly because it doesn't fit with a lot of the aesthetics I tend to go for. But I feel like it just works so nicely for this house, and so I put that there. And then I also put this really cool base game light. It's kind of like this geometric looking one. I used it in this orange swatch, and it's got like 3 bulbs with like 3 different lampshades kind of. And then to have it be like a light but also look like a shelf, I kind of raised up some books onto it and also a little plant just to like give it a little bit more interest there. And then I put these really cool like floor paintings behind or I guess against the wall, but kind of behind the chair. And I love these floor paintings. I think it's such like a cool item that we have in the game. I just wish we had some more versatile swatches with them, because there's like one swatch that's neutral, and then all the other swatches are really bright and vibrant, which I mean worked for this house, but I can't really use them in like my family homes or anything, even though I just really like the idea of the paintings just like propped against the wall. And I know we have some like base game ones as well that are like actual painting canvases and lefts of like framed artworks, but I like that's kind of only fitting for like an artist apartment or something like that, which these Sims aren't. They are creative, but they're not like specifically artists. But that item worked regardless, and I think I may have also put just like another plant in that corner with it. But yeah, I think that's just like a super nice corner and kind of just like a nice way to fill in that space, I guess. Now you can see that I have moved on into the living room part of this house, which I'm very happy with how it came out. First thing I guess I'll discuss is this fireplace. So when I was looking at reference photos, the reference photo I was looking at that inspired this fireplace wasn't 70s specific, but I just had this pinned on like my Sims Pinterest board for a while, and I just kind of wanted to figure out a way that I could build it in The Sims, and so that's exactly what this attempt is here. If I can remember, I will put a reference photo like the one I was trying to follow, but that one might be a little less likely. Granted, like I don't usually put more reference photos in because I usually don't use multiple, but for this house I did. Not so much to like completely copy the layout, but just to get like the aesthetic that I was looking for. But for the fireplace, it's like this really cool tiled looking one. And so how I ended up making it is, well, first off, the living room portion is actually a it's called like a conversation pit, which is like super popular in the 70s if I'm remembering correctly. And so like it's a little sunken area where like the couch and the fireplace and everything goes. And it's just kind of like a nice way to make the space a little bit more interesting. And so then I put this fireplace as like the bottom of it and that's like the city living fireplace. So I took that and I used the tool mod to lower it into the platform because it was giving me some trouble. And then I used it in like this beige swatch, and then I took this base game fireplace and I rotated it the other way so it's facing into the kitchen. And then I shrink it? I don't know if I ended up shrinking it or not. It could be the original size, but it could be shrunk. But then I raised that fireplace to sit on top of the city living one to create this kind of like tiered look. And then I took these wall items, like this piece of wall decor that's actually I think like a bunch of paintings in like these rectangular shapes that are kind of arranged. It's like a 3x3 grid, I guess. And I took those and I, again using the tool mod, like I adjusted the size and I placed them around that base game fireplace to make it look like that part was tiled. Now I do really love the concept of it. The only part about this fireplace that I'm not sold on is the color scheme, but I could have gone with like a blue color scheme, which is what the reference photo was, and also what looked a little bit better, but the blue didn't match the rest of the house, so I decided to go with this beige and yellow color scheme instead. But it wasn't quite the color scheme I'd hoped for, and the tiles stick out maybe a bit more than I wanted, but I'm happy I tried it, and I do think it does look kind of cool in the end. But it was a bit of back and forth, so I did cut out a good chunk of stuff. just with like all the fiddling around and stuff. But I think in the end it looks pretty cool. And I might end up using it again. I'm not sure. And it should be functional. I'm not too certain. I know the bottom one's functional, and the top one I didn't intend for it to be functional, but the bottom should be. And yeah, I don't think it's going to cause any fire hazards, but just to be safe, I probably would not light the fireplaces or let your Sims have autonomy, because I don't know if they're gonna accidentally light the top one and then for some reason they wouldn't be able to turn it off. I don't know. I feel like it could go very south, so maybe don't actually light the fireplace and just admire it instead. But yeah, that's kind of the whole fireplace spiel. And then well, I guess I'm not fully done, because in order to cover the top fireplace where like the backing is, or I guess the opening where you would actually see the flame, I took the same base game fireplace and I flipped it in the opposite direction so that this one's facing into the living room. So basically what I did is I put the two front facing sides together so that you could only see the backs of the fireplace, just to make it look like a solid object, and or like a chimney, I guess, and not a fireplace. And then behind that I put the wall dividers, which are from City Living, and I really like these wall dividers. Like, they're such like a cool pattern and concept, but I never get to use them because, again, like, I like doing a lot of standard or like more traditional family homes, which these room dividers don't necessarily tend to fit into, but I really like using them here. Or like back when I first got City Living, I would use these religiously in my apartments, and I'm not mad about it because they're super cute. They might not be everyone's style, but they're definitely mine, so I very much enjoyed those. Okay, now I think that concludes the fireplace spiel, and I'll kind of explain what I've done in the actual conversation pit or like living room area, because I definitely went a bit eclectic. For starters, I took this couch which we got from Dream Home Decorator. It's this really cool like sectional that I'm actually not sure I have used in a build before, at least not one that I've put on my channel. But yeah, I use it in this pale yellow swatch. I really wanted like a deep orange couch, or like a like saturated yellow couch. However, the color swatches in the Dream Home Decorator pack are definitely a bit more muted. So this was the closest I could get, and I knew I wanted to use the sectional, so, you know, I had to sacrifice some things, but that's okay because I'm still pretty happy with how it turned out, and I think it just looks like such a super comfortable area to hang out in. And what I did on the floor, actually, you might be like, girl, what's going on? I understand that this is not going to be to everyone's taste, but I actually took this rug that we got from... Actually, I don't think we got it from anywhere. I think it's just like a base game rug, but I was very much lacking the orange tones in here, and so I took this very aggressively patterned carpet, and I decided to make that the floor of the conversation pit, and so it was a little bit less of an eyesore and just like a hint of texture and pattern. I took this rug from City Living in this beautiful burnt orange swatch, and I put that in the center so that it would cover a good majority of the pattern, but still kind of like blend in with the color scheme and whatnot. And honestly, I'm really happy with how that came out, but again, I do understand that that might not be to everyone's taste, but it definitely is to mine. And then I took this, I think this coffee table, first off, in the perfect swatch, but I think this coffee table came from high school years. And it's this nice like mid-century kind of piece that I think just works perfect in this house. And so I used that, and then just cluttered up the top a whole bunch with like different knickknacks and stuff. And there is no TV in this living room because I couldn't really think of where to put it. Like, I could have put it on top of like the fireplace, like on the mantle, but I feel like that would kind of just destroy the aesthetic of the living room. So honestly, I just decided to not put a TV. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure I meant to put a TV in these Sims rooms, but I didn't. I gave them computers. I know there's a bunch of computers in this house, but I don't have a TV anywhere in this house, so that might be something you guys want to add or like play around with. But yeah, I mean, your Sims can get their fun up on like the computer or something, so maybe it's not too big of a deal, but TVs are nice because like your Sims can passively build skills like the cooking skill or things like that. But yeah, so I didn't include a TV, but behind the conversation pit, I decided to include this chess table, and I put like this funky rug, which I think we got from Seasons, and I use these chairs again from that like custom content creator inclusion thing that I mentioned earlier, in this gorgeous like olive green color, one of my favorite colors to ever exist, and so I couldn't resist using it in that living room. And then I also used these like I guess bookshelves. They're kind of just like shelves with some books and some other miscellaneous storage that we got from Dream Home Decorator, and I put those on the curved walls and stacked one on top of each other because I felt like it kind of filled up the wall a bit, because they are like very tall walls, and I just wanted, I guess, an easy way to clutter it up without having to do too much. And then of course just threw in a whole bunch more plants, and yeah, I guess that's kind of it for the living room. I'm just trying to think quickly if there's anything else I did in that portion, but my brain seems to be failing me. Oh yeah, I used some curtains, but do I remember which curtains? Nope. You might remember better than I do. I was literally just, oh, here we go. I was using the cats and dogs one in this like green and cream color with, it's like green circles on a cream sheet. I really like these curtains, honestly. I think they're so cute. I really like the pattern and the colors and everything because I am a green girl. And yeah, so that is it for the living room, I believe. But now you can see that I have moved on into the kitchen, and the first thing you might have noticed is, girl, what? You moved on and there's already cabinets in there. Yeah, so I kind of goofed. This was taking me a really long time to figure out the cabinet kind of color scheme, I guess, and selection and things like that. I was debating for a very long time about which counters I was going to use, what colors I was going to use, wallpapers, the whole shebang, everything like that. And so I stopped recording just so I could figure it out. And then I completely forgot to delete all of them and then replace it, which is usually what I do if I'm struggling. Like, I'll figure it out and then I'll delete it all and then just replace it so you guys can see me place it, but you don't have to sit through like 30 minutes of me being indecisive. But I forgot to do that. So I did move on into the kitchen, and it was almost fully furnished, but I'll just explain what I did. Please don't be too mad at me. I'll try my best to not let that happen again. But the counters are from Base Game. I'm just using a lot of things that I never use in this build, but yeah, I don't ever really use these because I don't really do modern builds or this style of build, which I feel is the only one these counters kind of lend themselves to. And honestly, I would have used one from like Dream Home Decorator because I haven't really gotten a chance to use those counters either. But this color swatch was just so perfect. I literally could not use any other counter. Like, it would be forbidden. So I decided to go with this Base Game one that has like this brown countertop and the orange cabinets. And then because I felt like there was like a whole bunch of orange going on, I decided to use some Base Game cabinets in a different Base Game cabinet. The ones that like don't have handles or anything, they're very minimal. They're like the cheapest option you can get, and I use those in a brown swatch to match the countertops but not be too overwhelming if I used like an orange swatch, which I could have done, but it was a bit of an eyesore, so I didn't do that. And then I ended up using the Jungle Adventure stove and fridge because they came in an orange swatch, and I felt like I couldn't not. Yes, it might be a little much. I do understand that. However, when else am I going to get to use an orange fridge and an orange stove with orange countertops? Probably never. So I took the chance and I did it. And if it bugs you, feel free to change it. I say this with all my builds, but anything you feel like you want to alter or adjust to like suit your gameplay or your personal preference, by all means, go ahead. I take no offense. I understand that my personal taste might not be your personal taste. But yeah, so I used all of those, and then I made this kind of like built-in window seat on either side of this cute little coffee station. And I used these ottomans, I guess you could call them, which are from Horse Ranch, because these ones came in a really beautiful, rich yellow color, like a yellow ochre. And so I decided to use those, and I used these new Base Game pillows. They're Base Game, but they just came with that login rewards event thingy. As at the time I'm doing this voiceover, it's since passed, I believe, but we had this thing where when you would log in, you would get rewards, and one of the rewards was a like this pillow, like this cushion, which literally I swear like every Sims builder at least has been begging the Sims team to give us, just like a cushion to put on sofas and stuff or beds to make things look more cozy and less boring and actually lived in. But they did it through the like login reward system. So if you didn't log in on the day that they were giving that one out, I don't know if you'll ever be able to access it. Honestly, I think it was kind of a silly thing that the Sims team did by doing it that way, if that means no one can ever access it again, because not everyone can play The Sims daily, and like I almost missed the login reward for that day and I would have been distraught. So I did use them, but if you don't have them, of course it still works without them. But yeah, if you guys know what's going on with that, like if you'll ever be able to access those things again, like please let me know, because I'm not in the loop. But if like you can only access them through the login rewards and no one else can ever access them again, like I kind of don't want to use them in future builds because I feel like that's just really unfair. Like of course with expansion packs, I know not everyone can, you know, access those due to money or whatnot, but at least there's more of a chance it's not like a once in a lifetime thing, you know? So yeah, if you guys have thoughts on that, like in terms of me using those items or not, please let me know and I will keep that in mind. But yeah, so that was a pretty long rant about that, I'm sorry, but I made this little coffee station in the center, which I would just love to have. I used the espresso machine and the bean grinder from Get Together, because with that pack we got the addition of cafes and like espresso drinks and bakery items and things like that. But usually I can't add these because in order for the espresso machine to work, you need the espresso grinder, but that they can only slot to countertops and that takes up a lot of countertop space. So I can't usually add those, but I figured I had a lot of counters, so I might as well, because there's plenty of counters for your Sims to cook on that aren't cluttered up. And yeah, and then I use like these bar stools, which I got from Island Living, and then these lights I'm using above the island are from Seasons, again in like the perfect orange color, and I really just tried to make the light fixtures look super fun and cool. I really wanted every part of this build to be considered. Like I wanted it to look like, and anything they could change I wanted them to be able to change, so like the light fixtures, you know, flooring, wallpaper, things like that. I really wanted everything to be deeply considered, and because I usually tend to forget about lights, or not even forget, but I just find that sometimes building with like fancy ceiling lights is really distracting and like takes up a lot of the floor space. So I usually just go with like these little pot lights, and then I kind of just leave them like that. Like maybe I'll adjust the color or whatnot, but I usually just go with those ones. But I really wanted there to be a bit more depth to it, so you know, I traded those out for some like funky lights. And yeah, so there's just a whole bunch of clutter in the kitchen. I don't think there's anything else in there too much worth noting, but in terms of like the space behind the fireplace, I ended up putting a little like breakfast nook there. So we've got a cute little round table and some little chairs and a rug, and I think that's kind of all that's there. It's just meant to be like a little spot for your Sims to like drink their coffee or have their cereal, if they didn't want to go sit in the large dining table, because it might be uncomfortable. So I used the chairs from high school years. I said it was a round table, but it's actually a square glass one. My mistake. But that one is either base game or city living, and then the rug is high school years. And yeah, and then on top of that I put this backyard stuff piece of decor. It's meant to go like outside on a picnic table, I think, but it's this little tray with like a candle and a plant, and I just really liked how that looked, so I just put it on the table. It was a nice simple piece of decor that looked like thought out, so I felt like it ticked a lot of the boxes, so I went with it. But now I have finished the kitchen, and I've actually moved on to a different area, but I'll talk about what I've talked over, which would be the bathroom and the laundry space. So for the bathroom, I use this base game tile, which is cream and orangey brown tiles in like this checker pattern, and I used Island Living countertops with a Dream Home Decorator sink. So the Dream Home Decorator sink doesn't have like a cabinetry base to it. It's kind of a freestanding sink, if that's what you want to call it. And so what I did is I took these countertops and I actually built a basement right below where I wanted the sink to sit, and I took the countertops from Island Living and I placed them in the basement and then raised them up using the 9 key, so like your Sims don't read that they're on the level that it looks like. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is that the Dream Home Decorator sink is functional with like the little basement hack that I used, because if I do that, it looks like the cabinets are on the main floor when in reality they're in the basement, just like leveled up. So that area should be functional. And then I used this bathtub, which we got from, oh goodness, I'm actually stuck on the bathtub. It could be Dream Home Decorator, probably, I'm thinking, but I could be wrong on that. But I used that, and then I took these Desert Luxe curtains and I used that to make it look like the shower curtain around it, just to kind of give it this really dreamy and ethereal vibe. And then I put like some candles and some plants on the tub because it had like enough of a surface for that. And then the toilet's nothing too fancy. I threw in a plant, and I think I also put some, did I put a sconce in that bathroom? Not really sure, but I know I used a cool paper lantern above the tub, which I think just made it really dreamy and glowy, and like that looks like such a nice place to take a bath. And so I did that for the bathroom, and then very quickly I did the laundry room. That one's really nothing too crazy. I used a base game tile on the walls and a base game tile on the floor. The base game tile on the floor does feel a little outdated, but I think in a good way. Again, you might think it's really ugly, so if you want to change it, you can, but I like the color of it and the pattern. I felt like it added a little something to that room, and honestly, I'd been struggling with wallpapers and floorings for far too long. Even when I had moved on to the bedrooms, like the end of the build, I was still debating about whether I wanted certain floorings and wallpapers. So I just feel like that's never going to be something that's easy for me. Even now, I'm still not super content with the ones I chose. Like in terms of this wooden wallpaper, it's from Island Living, and I do really like the paneling of it, but it's probably a bit too dirty for this house. But the other wooden panels were too white, like I couldn't get the right color, and so I kind of sacrificed it for this one. But I don't know if it works the way I was envisioning it, because a lot of the reference photos I was looking at had like wooden paneled walls, but I couldn't find a wallpaper that was working perfectly, so I had to settle. You guys can let me know if you think it works. If you don't think it works, don't actually tell me, because I'll cry because I couldn't make it work. No, I'm just kidding. You can let me know if you think it works or not. But yeah, that's my spiel about wallpapers and floorings. But then in the laundry room, I just added in a washer and a dryer, and then a shelf, which we got from Laundry Day, which comes pre-cluttered, so I really didn't have to do much. And then I switched out the light to the paper lantern and called it a day for that room. Yeah, really nothing in there. I think the only other thing in there actually is the hamper that you need to actually like have the laundry have a purpose, because it produces the laundry and then you can wash them and dry them and whatnot. And so I think that's the only hamper in the whole build, just for ease of gameplay, because if you put your hampers on like the upstairs level, it's just like such a nightmare to do laundry. So I figured it's just easier to put it in the laundry room and, you know, leave it at that. But yeah, and now you can see that I have moved on into the home office, which I think is such a cute space for these two Sims. I think between the two of them, like they have a lot of creativity, right? So I figured it only made sense for the home office to reflect that. And so I just made one giant home office for each, or for both of them, I guess, instead of making two separate ones for each of them, which originally I was going to do. I was going to divide the room in half, but then I got these kind of like weird skinny shapes. And then I figured one of them has like the worst office because it's connected directly into the kitchen, and like the other Sim would have to cut through their office to get to the other. So I decided, why not make it just a communal space, like a nice little hub for creativity? And that's exactly what I did. And since they have like a joint office, I'm kind of wondering if there's some sort of way where like they could have a company together, maybe something like the interior designer like suggests furniture with the same upholstery as like some of the clothing pieces, like the same kind of fabrics. Maybe there's some like overlap there. Maybe they've worked with like some kind of illustrator to like have these designs made that they can use on like their furniture or their clothing pieces. So there could be something like that, which could be fun. I mean, you can't actually do that in The Sims, but I mean, it's a nice idea regardless, I think. And yeah, so I made this one big mega desk with this high school years desk. So I really like the color of this one, and maybe it wasn't the best to use for mega desk because it has like like one part of it is closed off with like a door. But I think in the end, well, I was moving on before that even made sense, but like pretty much there's like a side on the desk that looks like it has drawers or like a little cupboard, and then the other side is like where the chair would go in. And so that's not the best for making the most cohesive look, and also the corners around it. So again, not the best for cohesion, but I don't know. I just went with it because I didn't really want to fiddle with it too much. I think in the end it actually looks fine. I just think there's other tables or desks that might have made like a more seamless look, but I think it worked either way. And yeah, so each sim got like one end of the desk, and then in the middle I just put a whole bunch of clutter, like a lot of these things from high school years with like these cutting mats, or like things from Dream Home Decorator with paint swatches and color samples, or like textile samples from the fashion influencer. And yeah, and then I put like a really cool light fixture above it, and I also gave them each like a computer. I was thinking it's probably like an iMac or something on either end for them to like do their emails, or, you know, think of ideas and designs and get inspiration and stuff. And so they have computers there, but then they also have some computers in their rooms, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, lots of computers in this house, but no TVs. So once again, you might want to adjust that to your needs. And then I also added this drafting table, which we got from Dream Home Decorator. I think it's from Dream Home Decorator. I'm pretty sure it's not a base game item, but it's really cool. It's got like rulers and paint swatches and like those kind of things, like clutter just already built into the desk. And so I used that, and I put something there, but what did I put there? Did I put the like a tablet of some sort over there? I think I might have. I don't know if you need it for a career, but I added it there, and I was thinking that's where like the interior designer goes to maybe like make some mock-ups of room layouts or house designs or something like that. And then I also included the Dream Home Decorator just like cork board. It doesn't actually have a purpose, it just looks like an inspiration board where there's a whole bunch of like paint swatches and fabric swatches and things like that. And then right beside that I put the fashion influencer board, which actually does have a purpose, like you need that for the career. And so I make sure to leave like that space around it accessible and whatnot. But I wanted it to look like they had like their two little inspiration boards right beside each other, because I thought that'd be super cute. And then I also put in these mannequins from Get to Work, which your Sims can actually dress up, because if you have like a retail store, like you can put these mannequins in there and then like, you know, dress them in whatever you're selling and things like that. But I decided to put them there, and I was thinking for the sim, like she would dress it up to either start doing some like sewing projects and things like that, or just to show off maybe a new line she's just put out, things like that. And so I just tried to put a bunch of like clothes and textiles and just like pretty much any item that reflects creativity, I tried to dump in that room. And then to tie it all together, I guess, or ground it in a way, I put a carpet, which we got from the werewolves game pack, yes, in like this really cute yellowy green pink swatch, and I'm pretty sure I sized it up just to fit the space a little better. And yeah, that should be it for the office. Oh yeah, before actually, I always say like, oh, that's it, and then I actually keep talking about the thing that I just said I was done talking about. My apologies. But I put these like certificates on the walls to make it seem like it was like their university certificate, or maybe just like a business award or things like that, just to kind of like show their achievements, because if they have such a big house, they've got to have a lot of achievements, because how else did they get the big house? So yeah, I put in those. I thought it really helped, you know, sell the storyline a little bit more. I've moved on into the next area of this build though. You have seen that I actually cut out like the landing pad and hallways of the upper portion, because I was struggling a lot and fiddling around a lot, again with more like wallpapers and floorings and stuff, when I actually ended up changing nothing. So I cut that out, and I did the decorating off screen, but you will see those in the screenshots. There's really not too much going on. There's like a plant, a lamp, a picture, and a rug. Kind of sounds like a riddle. But yeah, it's really nothing too crazy. But again, I will include that in the screenshot so you guys can see what I did there. But you will have seen that I actually just created the walk-in closet using all of the Dream Home Decorator like modular pieces, which is so much fun because despite having this pack, I have never built a walk-in wardrobe with it, which honestly is a violation in and of itself. But I haven't like played with it too much or done like too many big homes since I've had it, so I'll let it slide. But I mean, I'm so excited that I actually got the chance to use it because I think this was such like a fun little thing to do that I don't usually get the chance to do. And so I just played around with like all the different modular pieces that we got from Dream Home Decorator and just like figured out different orientations of that, and then I like cluttered it up with a bunch of different what's it called, like hangers and clothing pieces and things like that, and then also some shoes. And then I also put in a bunch of these gift boxes which we got from Seasons to kind of make it look like the sim has like PR stuff, like she's been sent PR items by brands to like showcase, or like maybe they're things she's gonna send out for PR, although I don't imagine she'd do that personally. So I think it's things that brands have sent her as like PR stuff, which I think is super cool. And yeah, in the middle I put like a little table that we got from Island Living and put a bunch of different like clutter and stuff because I'm thinking that's just like where she gets ready in the morning. And so I put like some jewelry there, some perfume. I also put another mannequin because maybe that's where she like sets up her outfit for the next day, or like if she has an event coming up. And then I also used this really giant mirror which we got from Jungle Adventure, and then I used high school years curtains, and a horse ranch rug in like these more deeper red burgundy swatches. And yeah, so I'm really happy with how that came out. But now we are on to the very first bedroom, which is probably, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, my favorite bedroom I've ever created, if not my favorite room ever. I genuinely could not be happier with how like this bedroom came out. I think like for what I was going for like some like eclectic 70s maximalist, right? And I think I ate it up with this bedroom. I can't even lie. I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound like braggy or anything, but I just like am so pleased with how it turned out. So for starters, I made the walls a lot darker, still using that like wooden swatch, but in like a darker tone. And then I made the floor carpet, which I think right off the bat helped instantly with that 70s vibe. And then I took this bed, which is also from Island Living, and this really cool like funky pattern. It's like red and it's got like swirls and stuff, and the headboard wasn't giving 70s, so I merged the headboard into the wall, which actually reflected like what a lot of the reference photos were showing, where like they didn't really have headboards. They kind of just had like the back of the wall, like if they had headboards, it was very low, and so that's what I was trying to mimic there. And then I took these Dream Home Decorator side tables, or which I also could just be like regular shelves or something, but I put them on the floor to make them look like side tables because again, in a lot of the reference stuff I was seeing, they had these more built-in looking side tables, and so I got them in the exact swatch of the wallpaper, which I would like to point out never happens in The Sims, especially if they're from different packs. So that was like a miracle, and a very happy one at that. And then yeah, I put some lights on the side, which are just like these base game lights, but they were very 70s to me, I guess. So I used those, and then I used these curtains, which are kind of in the same color swatch as the bed, but with a different pattern. So I feel like I was able to blend them without them being exactly the same, which is my favorite thing to do in real life, is just having like bits that blend together while still being different. Yeah, and I used those from City Living. And then I also took this vase that we got from City Living, and I used it to cover up a plant pot because we got like this base game tree, and it's cute sometimes, but also sometimes the base of it is very ugly. So I decided to size it down and merge it into the City Living vase, whatever you want to call it, in like this pinky blue swatch. I probably could have gone for like the yellower swatch, which is its default swatch, but I don't know, I decided to like switch it up. And then once again, I'm using this rug from Seasons, which I was just saying how much I love it earlier in the video. It's the one I used in the entranceway, but instead I used it here in a zebra swatch, which I think just really adds to that eclectic feel. And I really like how moody this room is. I feel like very much suits the sim that I had in mind. So this room, which I don't believe I mentioned, but you might have been able to tell by the size of the closet, is actually for the fashion designer sim. And I was able to include a couch in there as well, and what else? A desk and a big mirror, which we got from high school years, and I used it in this orange swatch because it gave off this nice like glow. And yeah, the couch is high school years, and so is the desk and the desk chair. Honestly, like, this build is sponsored by Island Living and High School Years and Dream Home Decorator and Seasons. Okay, there's a lot of packs that it could be sponsored by. But I also said I put a computer in the room, and I lied. I didn't put a computer. I made the desk purely like a getting ready desk. So I used this light that we got from the from the Everyday Clutter Kit. It's like this little vanity mirror, but you find it in the lights section, and it can only like slot into a certain spot, which is kind of annoying, but I don't know why it does that, but I made it work. And then I just put a bunch of different clutter items of like makeup and things like that. And then I used a base game painting above the bed, which I don't think I mentioned, again in the perfect color swatch, and then the paper lanterns again all throughout the room, just to kind of give it that glowy, moody vibe. And I just think the room looks so cool and fun and 70s and moody, and yeah, I'm just really happy with it, and I hope you guys like it too. If there's things you would have done differently, you can feel free to let me know, but I'm very happy with how it turned out, so chances are I won't be changing it. But actually in all of these bedrooms, there is like their own personal balcony kind of thing, which I do decorate, but I don't show the decoration in the video because it was very boring. I really didn't clutter it up too much because at this point, I think I had spent like 10 hours on this build, and I just wanted to be done. And the balconies were the last thing I had to do, so I just kind of like threw out whatever I wanted there, maybe a couple of plants, and then I called it a day. But yeah, they each have their own personal balcony. For this sim, it goes out of their bathroom, which I'm working on right now. And for the other sim, it's kind of like right as you enter into their room, and then there's like the communal balcony, which is in the hallway of the upstairs. But I imagine that, like, you know, they like trade balconies every now and again, because like one of them has a fire pit, one of them has sun loungers, so they probably just like hang out on each other's balconies. I don't think it's too big of a deal. I just meant in terms of where like the doors are placed, if that makes sense. But yeah, you will have seen that I actually finished the bathroom now for the fashion designer sim, and I think this bathroom looks so cool. Between like this bathroom and the bedroom, like this little section might be some of my favorite parts of the build. It's just like a very interesting looking bathroom, which is a very nice change of pace compared to like, you know, your standard suburban home kind of bathroom. So I tried to do like a couple of different like built-ins or cool things like that. So I used a base game mirror and sink in like this brown swatch, and then I used a Island Living shower. So this shower is like, it's kind of, I don't think freestanding is the right word, but it's definitely more open concept. And if I had the Discover University shower or the Snowy Escape shower, where it's literally just like the shower head and some nozzles, I totally would have used that to create this custom built-in. But I had to work with what I had, and so it should be functional, but I'm not entirely sure. I'll try to remember to playtest that before I upload this. But yeah, I really wanted it to look like a built-in, so I tried to pick like wallpapers and floorings that kind of matched that. And I actually elevated it for the platform, so it was kind of like a step-up shower, and I felt like that was super cool. And then I put a couple of different plants in there because I felt like it'd be cool, you know. I don't know, I would love to have plants in my shower, and like they would probably love to have water. Though you'd have to be like a bit specific with which plants you put in there because you don't want to like overwater them. But yeah, so I put some plants in there. And then the toilet, which toilet did I use? Honestly, I can't remember the toilet I used, but I don't think it matters too much. And yeah, then I just put in like a couple of different lights and some sconces, and I changed like the color of the lights to give it a bit more of a moody feel. And that kind of sums up that bathroom. Super happy with how it turned out. And I hope you like it too. But now I'm on to the next and last bathroom of this build, which is a fully like orange and yellow bathroom, which is maybe a bit obnoxious, but again, I thought if not now, then when? So I used like this base game tile and flooring, which are like completely matchy match, which I think is cool. And I picked it in like this orange swatch with like the occasional yellow tile in there. And then I took this base game shower tub combo, and I decided to put that in like the white and yellow swatch. And then I took this sink, which we got from high school years, which is very Art Deco, and I put that against the wall, and I took this base game shelving item and put it beside the sink to make it look like a little towel holder, which is what it's supposed to be, but I just put it a bit closer to the floor. And then I guess just some more cool lights and a toilet and things like that. And yeah, I think that bathroom's pretty cool in its own way, but I definitely like the first bathroom more. But this one I was trying to like reflect a lot of like the orange tiled bathrooms that I've been seeing in the reference photos. Yeah, I still like how it turned out because it matches the room that it goes with pretty well. But yeah, I still like the other one more. But now I'm working on the, what's it called? The interior designer's room. Their room is definitely a lot smaller than the fashion designers, but I think that's okay. Maybe the fashion designer brings in a bit more income, so they have the slightly bigger room. But they each have their own personal bathroom, so honestly, to me, it wouldn't even matter the size of my room if it meant I could have my own like ensuite bathroom. But for her room, I decided to like do some more split leveling, mainly just to make it easier to walk out to the platform. But on the split level part, like we have the door out to the balcony, and then I put like a desk for her, and then on the lower portion is like where her bed is and some of like her wardrobe. She definitely has a much smaller storage for the fashion designer Sam. Like I don't think she needs as much storage. And I feel like if she did, she could just store it in like her friend's closet. I really don't think the friend would mind, granted how much space she has. But yeah, in this room I used some base game side tables, which are like this funky, modern, mid-century kind of vibe, I think, in an orange swatch. And then I used like one of my favorite beds of all time, which is the Seasons bed, and one of my favorite swatches of all time, which is the orange swatch. And yeah, so the orange and yellow just worked so perfectly to like time with the bathroom and just make it look like this Sims vibe. And then if you know me and have been watching my speed builds, you know that I love making my Sims match their rooms and houses. So this Sim will definitely have like an orange and green color scheme in terms of like clothing and stuff, and maybe like hair and eyes as well. Who knows how crazy I'll get with it. But yeah, that was kind of the color scheme I was going for this. I definitely went less eclectic for her room and kind of like moody. Hers is a bit more fun and funky, I guess. I don't have the best descriptive words coming to my brain right now, but hopefully you can like see what I mean by that. So hers is definitely a bit more matchy than the other room, which is probably why I like the other room a bit more. But I do love this color scheme, and I think this room is just like super cozy in its own way. Yeah, but I used this ottoman at the foot of the bed, which is from high school years. Same with the desk chair and same with the rug. And then this mirror is from City Living, and the ottoman I'm picking is, oh, okay, it's this one from Cats and Dogs, and like this gingham plaid swatch. And then the dresser is once again that like custom content kind of thing, where like they brought the custom content creators, asked them to make some pieces and put it in the game. And yeah, so I used the dresser from that because of course it was in the perfect orange swatch, and then a Seasons mirror because it actually came in the perfect green swatch, and I was like, hello, I have to use it. And yeah, I think that's kind of it for this bedroom. There's really not too much I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna like kind of clutter it up, add in a couple of plants, maybe some paintings like this one here from City Living. And that pretty much concludes the build. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this. If this was your style, let me know. If it wasn't, you can also let me know. But I had so much fun building it, and I hope you had a lot of fun watching it, even if it's not like your particular vibe. But as always, if you have any comments or suggestions, things you want to see me build, make sure you leave it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, I've never asked this before, but you know, you can give me a like and maybe subscribe if you want to see some future content. But yeah, thank you guys so much for all the love and support recently. It really means a lot to me, and I look forward to seeing you in my next Sims 4 speed building video or long play or cast video. I don't know what's coming next, but yeah. Bye guys.